All right, in 3, 2, 1.
Run! Go! Get to the podcast!
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a podcast?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and
Podcast.
and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hey everyone, welcome to Get to the Podcast. Let's get to the podcast with number 2. My name is Tiago de Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
And I have the 5 stones. And I'm number 1. Or number 2. Or number 1.
One of my favorite things is
two.
when we were doing the Endgame predictions before Avengers Endgame came out.
Yeah.
And Neil decides, he's like, okay, let's not forget what this movie's really about. And he goes,
I'm just keeping it
he goes,
real.
a guy gets a glove, puts a bunch of rocks in it, and then with his thought mind snaps and gets rid of half the known universe. And I thought that oversimplification is not wrong.
Not planet Earth.
Yeah.
Which we've seen in many movies.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about the known, like the entire, and
unknown.
unknown universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's complete absurdity. And people just are like, into it.
Yeah.
It's the most absurd fantasy I've ever, like Lord of the Rings doesn't touch the ridiculousness of fucking Avengers Endgame.
True, but
I'm sorry.
Rings to control everybody
Yeah,
is
exactly,
kind of
yeah.
ridiculous too.
These rings are controlling like a little country. Like, that's how big Middle
You
Earth
don't
is.
know what
It's
Middle
a
Earth
country.
is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, they
You
tell
don't know how big
they
it
tell
is.
you how far like Hobbiton is from like Mount Doom. It's like 10 miles.
Yeah,
It's like 20 miles.
10 miles?
I'm
Really?
just saying,
Three
it's-
movies to traverse 10
It's
miles.
a little country, okay?
What, they call it an
We're
Uber
not
to get
talking
to
about like the universe.
Yeah.
It's just total bizarre. It's just total like crazy. And I'm just, anyway, I
The
can't.
majority
I can't
of films are that way.
no.
If you think
This
about
is
it, they really.
ridiculous.
If
This
you
is
break
not even
down
close to
majority
Star
of films,
Wars. Like,
how
But
do
it
you-
was good.
yeah.
Endgame was really good.
I'm just pointing out the obviousness
They're
of how
all
ridiculous this shit is.
Yeah.
And everybody just goes along with it. I love it.
Yeah, how can you not say that somebody holding an electric current like in their hand, the saber?
lightsaber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not gonna burn their hand.
Oh,
They-
yeah.
I mean,
No, they're going to make those. Those are going to come
Never-ending
to
story.
fruition sooner or later.
Never-ending story is ridiculous, guys. It is. It's ridiculous.
Not never-ending story.
Yeah.
No.
Now, see, this
That movie makes-
is your bias, right?
It's not a bias.
I'm just saying
It
that
is.
movie's ridiculous. Like, if you're going to go from that premise of what you're using for, Infinity War Endgame, never-ending story is
I
ridiculous.
think that the thing that's
The thing-
ridiculous
the
to
thing
me
about-
is the idea that like everybody, like he collects these stones, puts it in a glove, snaps his finger, and then like half of everything is dead.
But they're
Like, that's
the
such a
essence-
ridiculous concept that like half
Why?
of everything in the
But it's
in
the premise that
known
these
and
things are the
unknown
essence
universe,
of the creation of the universe.
which is
These-
even more ridiculous.
They've been spread throughout the entire universe. I mean, 2 of them ended up on Earth for some fucking god-awful reason. We're the
That was
worst. We're the
smart.
worst, and they gave 2 of them to us.
It's funny because I feel like they spent a lot of time in a weird way with these Marvel films trying to ground them and make them feel like they could exist in the real world, and then they do this where it's like, oh, magic
But they did
rocks.
it. They was grounded.
happen-
No,
Yeah.
but
grounded.
they've been doing that since the beginning, the Tesseract and everything like that. But the point is, it actually
Wait,
the
wasn't
fact
that
that
Justice League.
no, that Justice League. Okay, that is a whole thing. But
Mother cubes. The mother cubes? What were they called?
the cubes.
yeah,
Mother
mommy
boxes.
cu-
Mother
mo-
boxes.
mommy boxes. Yeah, no, it sounds very pornographic.
Remember.
No, but they
Which
did.
all
The fact
been
is,
copied from the board.
they've actually done a good
Yeah,
job.
basically.
They did a good. And Endgame what I really liked about Endgame is it started kind of, Infinity War was crazy, right? Endgame starts with just like Jeremy, Hawkeye just having that picnic with his family.
It's a good movie. It's a very
good,
solid
yeah.
movie. It's a
Yeah.
very fun,
Yeah.
It
It
fun
was-
movie. And
it-
they focus on Earth, which they should.
Yes.
We don't want to see what's going on other planets.
Yeah, and they
Nobody cares.
specifically make
Not
sure to
worried about
mention
that
that.
right now.
Yeah,
We're
we
too
don't give a
busy.
shit.
I will
about-
say though, Titanic and Avatar are better movies.
that's the topic for today.
This is the debate.
So Avengers Endgame very quickly.
You guys agree with that, right?
Let's-
I'm not alone here.
What can we title the episode real
let's-
quick?
Yeah, let's get there.
He's
so
instant.
Avengers Endgame broke the record for #1 box office grossing movie of all time. It beat Titanic, which was a James Cameron film,
Yeah.
which had the #2 spot. Then it went and it beat the Avatar record, which was also a James Cameron film.
But technically, it didn't beat James Cameron because James Cameron had 2 films.
It is unbelievable that James Cameron had the
Like, that's
number 1
crazy.
and number 2 spot.
That's
blows me away.
Yeah.
And he made, here's the thing. Avengers Endgame was the 22nd movie of a series of movies over a span of 11 years.
Yeah.
So it basically had a built-in 11-year. It's really 11 years worth of movies. What made that the top-grossing movie of all time? It was built on the back of all those other movies. I mean, Avengers Endgame was also great, but it was built off those, and it was a fan base. It was a built-in obsession with those films and the Comic-Con.
Which is the only
presence.
reason it made the money it made.
Yeah, the Comic-Con presence and everything else. Avatar came out of nowhere and was the trailer was ridiculed. They were like, it looks like Thundercats or whatever. Like people were shitting all over blue fucking.
I think
cats.
it was the 3D thing.
Yeah, it had it going against it, and then all of a sudden it killed, and people were obsessed with Avatar.
Yeah.
Like when it came out,
And it
people
hasn't
were
even
obsessed
been
with
talked
it.
about one of the great films.
It was like you have to see it in 3D.
Yeah.
It's like a mind-blowing
Yeah.
experience. Like
And
that's what I remember.
It really was.
Yeah,
Because the
but
3D was
word
different.
of mouth. People went
Yeah.
back and rewatched it and rewatched it. And
Because with James, just
There are
referencing
scenes
the
in
3D.
that where you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Because
Like,
he
I've
did
never
3D
seen-
different. He didn't pull things out
But
at
even
you.
the CG.
He created depth.
Yeah, the character animation, and
Looks
the
great.
detail, and you're just like, there's scenes where they're running. He first gets loose or whatever in
Yeah.
the jungle, and
Yeah.
he meets up with the chick or whatever.
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, and then they're like running through the jungle. It's like it's insane.
Yeah, it's
Little
10,
like
it's
little
10 years
tentacle
ago.
things
It's a
and
total Lion King moment.
Still blows me away. I can still
09.
watch that movie in 3D and be like,
But
blown
James
away.
Cameron, this is why it's like there actually is the ability to go above and beyond what is capable at that time, because James Cameron's movies all still hold up visually. Like Terminator 2: Judgment Day from 1991.
Yeah.
The T-1000 still looks great. Like, what the fuck's that all about?
Yeah.
28 years later, there's people that still can't do what they did then properly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And Avatar's 10 years ago, 2009.
Did you guys see the recent meme of the T-1000 going through? Remember when he goes through the bars
Yeah.
and he goes passing the bar test?
Well, I saw
Lawyer
one. I saw
humor.
one where it shows that scene, and then it was like this whole paragraph, and then at the end, it was like Patrick. God, what's his name? Robert Patrick. Like actually walk through the bars, and like what an amazing actor! Like he said himself. It was like this whole thing of him like really did the scene.
That's like the Gary Oldman one. It's like, what if you turn around one time and you were just walking down a street or into a grocery store, and then somebody yells "cut," and you turn around and you were Gary Oldman
the whole time. Like
that's how good of an actor,
Gary Oldman is. You didn't even know
Yeah.
you were Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't. To me, I no hate towards Endgame. I think it was a great film.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I
loved
also
it.
Totally liked it.
thought it was a
But
great
I don't
yeah.
think it's, to me, to re-release something to gain that number, you already lost.
I mean, that is
Well,
what it
apparently
is.
they added footage. It wasn't
6
just
minutes.
yeah,
6
they
minutes
added
of
some
footage.
additional scenes.
but that doesn't
to
matter
it,
to me.
so-
You still re-released the main
Yeah.
the main film.
To be fair,
gain the name.
Titanic was re-released,
But they
at one
already
point.
had their numbers.
Yeah.
You know what's
they
funny?
already had their
You know
numbers.
what's funny
when they
too
were
is Star Wars: Force Awakens still made more money in the United States than Endgame.
Oh, really? So that's
Yeah.
an international thing?
Yeah, Endgame did 853 million at the domestic box office, and it's still underneath Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which made 936 million.
Yeah, but
I did
that's
not
like
know that movie made
yeah,
that much money.
But that's
just
like
in the
weird to
United
count
States.
because when you talk about like The Mummy with Tom Cruise, it made only 56 million here, but it made 356 million
Yeah.
worldwide.
'Cause he's an
Yeah.
international
so he's
star.
he's an international star. But the
Yeah.
thing is, like, they re-released the film, so they technically tried again. They had a second take at making that number. Where Titanic, when they re-released it, it was already at number one. It was already.
Oh, it was like nothing was
It was
gonna catch
nothing
it.
was
Yeah.
gonna catch it. So
And also, let's talk about what Titanic is about. It's literally about the ship breaking apart and hitting an iceberg and then sinking. It's like that
but
should
it's
not
something
have
a
mass
lot of
appeal.
people knew about, and
Yeah.
that there were no and it wasn't just that. It was like I remember before the film came out, they were like Entertainment Tonight was doing all these like on the
Yeah.
set with James Cameron, and it was like they actually rebuilt
Yeah.
like the entire like facade of the
Yeah.
Titanic,
Yeah.
and then they rebuilt the entire like half of the front of the ship that on a dolly system, so the
Yeah.
actors could like it was like batshit
Yeah.
crazy the amount of
Yeah.
effort that went into recreating this
Yeah.
experience.
And the cool thing is that the studio also sent out a meme in respects to Endgame. Saying
it was James Cameron.
James Cameron.
You've sunk the Titanic.
Yeah, it took heroes or something.
it
took
Marvel
superpowers to
superheroes
sink the
to
Titanic.
But
or
they didn't
something
sink
like that.
Avatar
Yeah.
until now. They're saying they
Now they did. Yeah, now they overtook
But
Avatar.
really, they didn't. If you look at inflation,
yes.
they still didn't beat
No,
it.
but here's
they
the
just
thing-
beat it if you
but here was what's
compare
gonna
exact
happen.
monetary numbers, but it doesn't make sense because $1 was worth more 10 years ago than
It's
it's
not
worth
even
now.
going to matter because guess what's going to happen? They are going to re-release Avatar in theaters when 2 and 3 come out because
And then it's going to add
James
to that.
Cameron is planning to
Beat it again.
have Avatar 2 come out. His plan,
Four more movies coming out.
yeah,
Or 5 more movies.
his
it
plan
4?
is to have
5?
4, I think.
one come out like in October and one come out in November.
Right.
So back to back.
Right.
So
What?
of course his
That's
plan is to
insane.
have the first one, the second one, and the third one's in theater. So if that hits the theater again, so are you real? See, it just becomes this like. It doesn't even become a competition anymore. Because then I could re-release a sorry film millions of times just to get the amount of viewings, the amount of money.
But that
So-
won't count. Like 2 and 3 aren't going to add to.
No,
No,
it's
but
saying
they're
gonna re-release
re-releasing-
and then bring more attention to that original film again.
Yeah.
So and
They're gonna
re-release it in
re-release the
theaters.
first Avatar. Like, let's say if they do Avatar 2 in October and Avatar 3 in November, they're
probably
gonna
release it over
do
the summer
Avatar
or
1
something.
in September.
But I mean, really, if you look at it, just look at inflation. You have to include that.
But if you do that, then Gone with the Wind is the #1 movie of all time.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually.
But they do have an entire
1939. It
thing
literally
with
like
just inflation.
Something like a third to half of the population of the United States of America went and saw Gone
Exactly.
with the Wind in theaters in 1939. It's
Then you have to count
crazy.
Yeah, but
seats.
I'm saying that's a whole statistic. Is like if you
Yeah.
count inflation. I mean, you kind of have to, don't you?
You,
No,
ha-
you don't.
You
I
have
think
to,
you
and
can
you
count
don't have
seats.
to because it's still a record. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's
But
still
if like the dollar was worth twice as much 10 years ago, or
Does
whatever,
it change the fact that you've made more money? I mean, if you made it by like $5, and I guess, but
maybe the whole
it does
maybe the
matter
whole
if you change,
statistic is silly. Maybe
oh
going,
yeah, of course
it's
it is.
the whole
Box
thing
office
is
numbers are
ridiculous.
stupid for anybody but the people who are profiting off of it. We're not making shit off of it.
How come
Like,
they don't tell us how much it made in DVD and Blu-ray sales and what do they call it, syndication or whatever?
Yeah,
You know,
streaming.
It's
I
like-
think there should be a
that's
way
like
to
another
count
20
seats
billion or whatever.
or count tickets.
Yeah, I think
count tickets.
actually,
The
I
only
would like
way
to see
to
the
I
number
would
of
see
people who
tickets
saw
and
it.
seats.
Yes.
That actually, if they had that statistic,
Yep.
that would be more.
I think 1/4.
They
of it.
must
then you
have
could
that
go Gone
statistic.
with the Wind if they I don't think they were keeping that statistic back then, but you
Well,
know.
no, you have to. If you're, I mean, I guess you would have to, right? Like
I
there would
don't
be
know.
records
Well,
of how
ticket
many
sales.
tickets were sold. Yeah, ticket
At
sales.
each
Because if
movie theater, yeah.
Avatar
'Cause to
on
be
its
able to-
first release,
Because how do they keep track of the money?
Made
How do you
so-
know you're getting the right money if you don't ask for the ticket sales?
yeah.
if Avatar made to #2 in their first release, and people plan to watch that in the second release before the other 2 films, it's going to destroy
Right.
Endgame. This is why I'm saying is that you can't. It's the re-release method of trying to get to #1. I think it's dumb because like I said, I'm gonna release RoboCop 1,000,000 times to get it to #1.
Right.
Well, I
Just
would
to get-
assume people are going to go see RoboCop.
After a certain point, after a couple hundred years, I'm probably gonna have most box office seats.
Oh,
to
speaking
get
of,
brought,
they're
you know?
playing Total Recall at this movie theater near me.
Angelica?
Yeah.
Oh, we should go see it. I've never.
Yeah, Total
have I
Recall
seen
in
it
theaters.
I'd see it in theaters.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
He's
just
looking
totally
at the guy.
I don't think I've ever seen Total Recall in a theater. I mean, I've watched it 1,000 times.
There's something
but I've
about
never
seeing
seen it
I
in
like
the
going to
theater.
see some of these classic films in theaters. I saw Field of Dreams
Yeah.
on Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I literally was just crying. Like I was like, this is unbelievable. It was so
Yeah.
great. And it was like an official re-release in theaters. It was
cool.
nice. Yeah. But yeah,
Are you
no.
gonna see Avatar if they re-release in theaters
Yeah, I'll see it. Yeah, because I
in 3D?
I got.
Yeah,
I'll
I
be
didn't
honest
see it
with
in
you.
3D.
The
the
first
first
It
time,
ain't
time. I
3D.
didn't see it in 3D in
Oh,
theaters.
dude, that was the only reason I
I
went
did.
to see it.
I didn't.
I did.
I did.
My friends were mad at me because I forced them to go and I fell asleep.
You fell asleep?
Yeah, it was late and we had a long day.
Well, now I don't feel bad about falling asleep. When I went to go see the re-release of Alien, it was like the 30th anniversary
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
I fucking fell, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning.
I
This
s-
wasn't a midnight show.
Yeah.
This was like early morning. And that scene at the end where it's like, with the
hypnotic?
alarms going off for like 30 minutes, I was just like,
I went
I
and
woke
saw,
up and it was like the end of the movie. I was like, fuck, did I just sleep through this whole goddamn
I saw a
movie?
midnight showing of Blade Runner, and I was so fucking tired. I was like clawing
You
my
wanted
arm
me to
stay
go.
awake. Yeah, I was so tired, but I stayed awake through the whole thing. But I was like clawing my arm to like stay awake, and because that movie is not the fastest paced movie to be
No.
watching
I think it's
at
a time,
midnight.
like
Yeah.
if I could see it like lunchtime or something, then I'll stay awake.
Yeah.
But it's like hard, man, when it's like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And you're watching a slow burn movie, like you want to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And the seats are comfortable.
Yeah.
I know.
Shit.
That's crazy. Yeah. No, yeah.
But anyway, so Avengers Endgame is a great movie, but is it better than Avatar and Titanic? In my opinion, no. Like I see. I'm a,
Yeah, I would not.
for particular
No,
taste.
I'm not
I
even
like
gonna
those
think-
movies more.
Yeah.
I like those movies more than Avengers Endgame. But I did love Avengers Endgame. I think it was in their top 5 Marvel movies. I thought it was incredible. Like just the way they handled it, and over 3 hours, and
Yeah.
it was
But see,
crazy.
Avengers Endgame, if you hadn't seen if somebody came in and saw no Marvel films and just watched that one movie, didn't watch Infinity War,
not
just watch
possible.
Endgame, like all the payoff wouldn't mean anything to you.
That is true.
You'll be entertained. You're like, oh wow, special effects are great, and these superheroes seem
and
cool.
it's funny as fucking hell. That movie.
Is it funny for someone that doesn't have any of the background
Yeah.
story for anything?
I mean, the Thor thing is still funny. Yet
Oh,
it's
it's only
not as
funny if
didn't
you
see
know
him.
that he was not fat.
But that's not fair.
You're like, oh, who's this fat like dreadlock guy?
But also, is Titanic as effective if we don't know the whole time that movie that
was
these
a
people
boat?
are all doomed? Like this fucking thing is going to, like we know that throughout the whole movie. And we're like, what's going to
I
happen?
don't know. I
How's
feel
that
like there
gonna
had
happen?
to have been people that saw it and didn't know. What do you mean?
It's
There
funny
are
because there are
kids.
That's
people
very
that
true.
stupid.
There are
He's
kids that went.
got a
No,
good
it's not
point.
stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
No,
kids
it's
that
stupid.
went and saw the movie. They
ignorant.
were young that didn't know that this was about like a true story.
There's a
about
lot of
ship
jokes
that
in
sunk.
Endgame that were just general jokes just to bring humor to the film. That
The Back to
I
the
feel if
Future
you watch
thing.
the first one, Infinity Wars, you can go watch Endgame and kind of get it and feel.
Yeah, it's a great film. Whether
it's
you,
a great film. Yeah, exactly.
Avatar?
But Avatar, here's
Man,
I
here's
love
what's so
Avatar. I don't know
odd
what
about
I think
it is.
Avatar and Titanic you can watch and not know anything about either of those movies and be completely blown away.
Here's
I
the
agree.
thing about
It's the reason they
Avatar,
made
which
all
is
that money.
odd to me, and which kind of makes it the #1 film. It wasn't all around liked.
it was. That's the fucking lie of it. It
No.
was.
There was
There's
a lot.
nerds.
There was.
I
I've
think
read.
Titanic is the better movie. We got
No, I know,
young
but Avatar
DiCaprio.
was loved. Like that's
No,
what
it
blows my-
was.
People are
Obviously,
changing
it
the
has to
narrative
be
about it.
#1.
Yeah,
it has to be
exactly.
to #1.
They
But
have
here's
a
the
fucking
thing.
Disney
I
park. about it.
remember
there is
not
so much-
liking the story, but being blown away by the presentation.
I love the movie all around.
I thought
never-
it
But
was
this
like
is what I'm
Pocahontas.
saying.
I think these nerds got the better people on the internet.
No.
That's what happened.
No, I think. Here's the thing. Here's
You
the thing. I
got
think because of
It's not an original story.
I think because of its turmoil and what it went through, it still is #1 to me because it's such.
Titanic would
Like
be
it
number
went
one
through. There
out of
was a
these
lot
three
of
movies.
backlashing
Okay.
against
That's
Avatar.
fine.
There wasn't a lot of backlashing against Endgame. There wasn't a lot of backlashing
Titanic.
against
That's true.
Titanic. But Avatar had a lot of backlashing against it, and it fought its way through, and it became the #1 film. Like if you really think about it, a lot of people aren't thinking about watching Avatar again, except for those niche people that are
I think
sci-fi.
you're flipping the numbers. I think you're actually flipping the number, and was the lie about it. Is actually
you mean?
was a lower percentage that didn't like the movie and a higher percentage that did like the movie. I think that's
No, I'm not.
the-
I'm not talking about the percentage
Yeah.
part of it. I'm just talking about that Titanic and Endgame didn't have backlash.
Any of it, right,
Yeah,
right.
Titanic
and Avatar
does,
did.
but the internet didn't exist in 1990, or not like it does
Not like it
today,
does
or
now,
not like
yeah.
it did when Avatar came
comment
out. So
section.
now people constantly complain about the board scene at the end of Titanic and how it was bullshit.
door,
and
the door. Oh
or the
my
door
God, they
scene
won't
or
shut
whatever,
up
where they
about that.
could've-
Yeah, but
door.
Avatar
People
did
still
because
bring
it
this
had
up.
backlash.
Somebody asked DiCaprio in an interview recently
They asked
if
Jake-
like,
yeah, he talked
and
about
he's
it.
just like no comment. He's like, I don't want
during the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood thing.
Yeah,
He finally
yeah.
got- and then James Cameron talked about it on MythBusters. He's like,
like,
the
why is
reason
this
why
still a thing?
He's like, the reason why she
had
was
to
on the door.
die.
He goes, the reason why is because the script said on page 137 that he doesn't get on the fucking door and he dies. That's the end of the fucking story.
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
it.
the goddamn story.
He goes, if he
You guys
lived,
seen the
we
meme?
could
You guys
not
seen the
have that
meme?
incredible scene at the end where they show everyone alive at the bottom of the ocean,
Yeah.
like all their spirits or whatever the fuck
Yeah.
happens. Like
Did
you
you
couldn't
see
have that great scene, which I tell you, if that scene's not in the movie, it's a fucking downer movie.
Yeah.
Did you see the meme? It shows him in the water and her in there. He goes, Rose. Yeah, Jack. Move the fuck over.
it has
They
generated
did it.
so
It was
many
a Family
memes.
Guy
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it. Family Guy did the same thing.
But the thing is that Avatar did have backlash. It's not the amount of it. It's that literally out of those three is the only film that really had backlash.
Yeah.
And it fought its way through and it became #1.
I mean,
And
I remember
there was a
at
lot of
the
backlash.
time,
It's
there
not
was,
even
like online there were people complaining about like the simplicity of the film, but like I don't know. I was blown away by the presentation. I thought the story
It was
was good
incredible.
enough to hold that
loved the
presentation.
movie.
I definitely didn't think it was like, the story didn't floor me. Like there aren't elements of that film where I go, man, that moment, like in Blade Runner or something, where it's like Rutger Hauer's scene, like that scene stands
But
out
are there
for
scenes
me.
like that in Titanic?
Yo,
Yeah,
you
in
can't
Titanic,
sit here
they're-
and tell me that the scenes.
The scene with
what's her name? What's the actress's name?
Sigourney Weaver?
No, not Sigourney.
Zoe Saldana?
Zoe Saldana.
Yeah,
when she's reacting and you see that animation show that big.
When she
force-
finds out he's a human,
Yeah.
like really, and he's been
You
or
lied to
whatever.
me.
Or no, she knew
What's
he
his,
was
what's,
a
his,
human.
what's
Yeah.
his name? What's his name? What was
Sam
it?
Worthington. Oh,
No, what's his name in the
what's
film?
his name in the film?
Richard
lied to
Parker? Richard
No.
Parker.
It's always Richard Parker. We can't remember their name.
You lied to me.
Jim,
This is how
Jim. It's like a
everyone remembers Jack from Jack and Rose.
Okay,
From
shut up.
Titanic. Nobody remembers what the hell these
What's
names
his last
are in
name?
Avatar.
What's his last name?
Jack
Dawson.
Jack,
Dawson.
is it Dawson?
Yeah.
So you know.
When she goes
course I
off, wow, dude, that hit
No,
my-
you're right.
Richard
That
Curtis?
scene, there's a scene right
Yeah.
at the end when she kicks in the door or whatever and grabs his body.
Yeah.
And he's suffocating his human body, and it's like all frail, and she's like this huge
Jake,
blue
Jake.
thing.
Jake. Yeah.
Jake Sully.
Jake Sully.
Jake Sully. Okay, there it is.
Scully or Sully?
Sully.
Yeah,
Sully.
Jake Sully.
When she kicks in that thing at the end, I was like, that scene, I was like, wow, this is. Because you never, I guess maybe there are scenes where they show the humans and them together or something, or they try to like show them in the. But when you
They did-
see
no, they
her
did,
grab
yeah.
him,
And he's a
and
cripple.
she's
Like,
trying to
When
like
he
wake
runs
him
out.
up, and she puts the mask on his face, and he's like having a seizure or whatever. I was like, that's such a
and then
surreal
she's
scene
so
to
much
see.
bigger than him,
Yeah.
and she's like,
Yeah.
like coddling him, or that whole thing. And also the villain guy, the guy with the big claw marks in his head. I love that villain. I love
He was
his
a
look
great
and
bad
the way-
guy,
yeah,
yeah.
he's a great bad guy.
He's not even really a bad guy. He's like,
He's doing his job.
yeah, he's like, I'm doing my job.
Giovanni
Like-
Ribisi is kind of more the Paul Reiser-ish,
But even
from
then,
Aliens.
like at the end of the movie, he's like, they just
Oh,
send
he's
him back
truly
to
a
Earth
bad
or
guy.
well, that's
whatever.
what
He's truly a bad guy.
But it sets up the
Giovanni?
sequels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or the other guy, the claw guy.
the claw guy.
Yeah.
Because when he
He's a war guy.
when he runs out of that room, not giving a fuck that people are still in that room, he opens to the air that can kill them, and he's out there without masks shooting at them running
Oh.
away.
And then he
he
grabs the
doesn't
mask
care
and
about
puts it on.
anybody in there. He just literally focused on killing the people running away.
Yeah.
This is what I'm
That's a
saying.
bad guy.
I'm going to tell you that movie is really fucking good. I love the story.
incredible,
I love
yeah.
the characters. I love the world. I love the look of it. And I just don't fucking understand any
There
of the
aren't
other
scenes in
shit.
Titanic that floor you?
Yeah, I love Titanic. No. I think I'm just saying if you were to say there's things in Titanic that floor you and nothing in Avatar, I'm like, things that floored me in both of them. I love both those movies.
I
Yeah.
still remember when the ship started going up, and the guy was holding on to the railing. He falls, and Jack's right there holding on.
There's so many moments.
And no, the
So
guy
many.
falls
and
and
hits
he
the
hits
propeller.
the up.
Yeah,
It's like cling.
boom.
That was like the first
Oh,
time I feel
I've ever
like
seen that kind of
something
thing.
like that. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
every movie has it.
I know, but
every movie has somebody falling and they hit something
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
they hit the
But
ground.
I
It's
remember when we saw
he's
that, we were like, holy shit.
He's dead now. He's dead now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
But the scene
that
where they're
movie
like
pushed
the guys
CG
are
forward
playing,
again.
even just the scenes earlier prior to that, where like the guys are playing the music.
It has been
and
my
then they
privilege
stop
to-
and,
to
you know, when what's her name says
play
like
with you?
Yeah, where they're like all and then the captain is just standing there like in the ship as it's like sinking, and
Yeah.
it just starts to
The
fill
old
water,
man and
then
the old woman
Yeah,
hugging
they're
each
like
other. Oh,
laying
come
in
on.
the bed because it's just there's
Oh,
nowhere to
beautiful.
go, and
Go.
what's her name's like the half the people in their ship are going to drown or whatever,
And the
it's
captain,
like,
the
there's not
captain,
enough
which
boats.
is the guy from Lord of the Rings.
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
That scene where he's in like that main hall or whatever,
Yeah.
and he's right at the fireplace, and
clock.
he's just sitting
Yeah.
there like this is all my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Well,
just
what
fucked.
was Billy Zane's line? Fuck, what was that line he
And
says?
then to find out that like these recollections, if you read like the original transcripts of like whole trial that happened after it sank,
Yeah.
and people are like, yeah, the last person to report seeing the captain was like in that place, and
Yeah.
how accurately Cameron kind of recreated.
there were real shots of the wreckage of Titanic in that movie that they
Yeah.
used, that they got the filmmaker, like
Yeah, that
James Cameron
he went down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blows my mind.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, but what was that line that Billy Zane says? It's like really shitty. Fuck. I was hoping you just
Billy
know.
Zane survives, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Of course he does. He's Billy Zane.
Yeah. Ah, God, I forget. A real man
He's
makes
the
his own
Phantom.
luck. Yeah, a real man makes his own luck. Anyways, I just remember
He's the
like,
Phantom.
But he was great.
He's the
He's the
Phantom.
Phantom. I love that movie.
Yeah. Christy Swanson.
Yeah, James
That
Remar.
movie, Yeah.
Anyway, so that I love Titanic. Like, I think the story's amazing. I love like the chemistry, everything about it. I love
Cardinal.
it. Oh, okay.
It's weird. Still there.
You good? Fucking
What is he doing?
There's a cardinal
The
in the tree
attention
right outside
span.
the window. Anyway.
The attention span.
Dude, I'm looking
is
at
so-
you, and in like my periphery, there's like all this motion. I look over, it's a cardinal. It's cool. You don't see cardinals every day.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a
You don't-
Virginia bird.
you don't see
right?
a lot of things
Isn't that the
every day.
Virginia state
Yeah,
bird?
this is a great cow.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Does it have super?
Anyway, so
They're
Jesus.
birds.
Like I love Titanic. I love it. And I'm not saying it's better or worse than Avatar. I'm just saying I love Avatar, and I just think it gets a bad rap that I don't fucking understand. This whole weak argument of it's Ferngully or it's Pocahontas, it's bullshit. Like literally, watch those movies back to back, and then tell me that this is just Ferngully remade.
And if it was, I wouldn't
hate
give
it
a
when
shit
people
because
say that.
Ferngully was a great film.
When people pointed out the
Yeah.
Ferngully connection, I was like, I disliked Avatar more.
But it's bullshit. You're weak-minded, you fuck. That is bullshit
Yeah,
because
you
it's
felt-
not Ferngully.
Obviously,
There's
it's
a
not
premise about the
Ferngully remade, but there are very close similarities.
But if you're
between the
gonna
two
go that,
films.
this
And
is
what?
where I'm going.
No,
if
no,
you're
no,
gonna
no.
go that route, anything you can say that basic majority about like any film.
Terminator's like Cyborg. Like, what do you want?
Yeah,
okay.
it's like then it's unlimited.
What? No, I'm gonna call you out right now.
it's Pocahontas.
Tell me how it's Ferngully. First off, tell me what the actual oh my god real
Forest?
similarities. I want to hear him say it because you said this shit. You got to stand by that thing and tell me exactly.
There are
what the-
elements. There are elements of the Ferngully where it's like the trees. The tree is like alive, and the whole life force, and the way that whole thing that they play up in Avatar, where it's like the trees have like nervous system connections or whatever. It's like a brain or whatever that's connected to all the people and all the life forms around, and
Yeah.
so there's like that,
But
element
that's the
that's
Gaia
similar.
theory.
Right, it's
That's
like
a
a Gaia
Gaia
thing. It's like
So it's
Spirits
like
Within was
so
a similar
trees.
thing.
So trees are alive.
Well, trees are obviously alive, but it's this idea
Okay.
that there's like a central intelligence controlling all plant life or something, and animal
But
life. or
that's
whatever.
real life, by the way. There's actually there's a new thing where like trees will actually do things in connection with other trees, and if like a deer is coming to eat or animals are coming to eat from the tree or whatever, they will tell all the other trees around them, and they'll make it actually taste like shit.
Yeah.
like they do these different things.
It's like The Happening.
And if a tree, yeah,
M. Night Shyamalan knew it was up.
yeah.
But see, that's the thing. But even if you're saying that theory, that's just like a film with internet. You know?
No, I mean,
That's
I'm just
a film
saying
with
there are
computers
similarities
interconnecting.
between that and that. But then there was a comic book.
But
There
then
was like a French
but I'm
comic
saying you
book
can say that
came
you can
out
say the
that's-
Matrix. The Matrix is like Avatar then. Because the Matrix is all about the central location that controls
plugging
everything.
It's
into
not
something.
just. I don't know.
This is what I'm saying.
I think
It's
people are just trying to find a reason to like point
No,
out
you're
that
trying
it's
to find
not
a reason,
great.
man.
No, I didn't find.
You
I didn't
don't- you
You
originate
said when you
these.
heard it, you liked it less, though.
felt-
And I feel like that's like
I did like it less.
That's just
because then I was
crazy
like,
to me, though.
oh, then it made me realize like how similar it is to just like the Pocahontas story.
But it's just an internet. It's internet culture,
But that's the
man.
thing.
Like,
I gotta get you guys.
internet
Yeah,
culture
that's the
fucks
problem,
us
man.
up.
That's
It's
the problem. Like, there's movies that like I probably thought were amazing, and until I read something on the internet, and I was like, oh, all these
know,
years,
it's
this
a-
is the greatest movie of all time
And
for
now
me,
you like
and
it
now it's
less.
garbage because
I
they
hate that.
pointed out this thing.
I
that
hate
didn't
I gotta
notice
find that
before.
book for you so you can read it. It's
Well,
called The Seven
this is the
Original
world we
Stories.
live in.
It's
No,
called
it's
The Seven
not.
Original Stories of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And everything else is a copy.
Yeah.
Everything else is a copy. So it's
the way he executes it.
It's the same thing that I'm saying that this whole number one thing by money is going to be ridiculous because then it becomes unstoppable. Anybody can be really freaking number one, and it's not about the quality. It's just about how many times you re-release it to get that number one spot. But the hard part here is that we're talking about three incredible films, three great films that they all deserve to be number one. But who, to me, and this is my own opinion, honestly, I don't think Endgame earned number one by doing a re-release. If they earned number one on its first release, I think they earned that spot.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Right.
Re-releasing it, that means you get a second
Oh,
chance, and a lot of films
This
don't.
is the difference, though. Endgame these days, a theater run is about 4 to 6 weeks at
Yeah.
the most.
I
And
was gonna
back
say that,
Titanic
yeah.
was in theaters for like a year.
A year.
but,
in its
but
original
that's
release.
by
No, but
the
that's
studio's
not,
choice.
But then that's not fair to say. Well, Titanic had no, because that's the
Well,
system
there
we
were
live
less
in now.
people that
but
watched
that's by the
movies, too.
studios.
It's
that's,
the system we live in now.
Yeah,
though.
but then
It's
you
like
can sit there and say
movies
the-
can't stay in theaters anymore.
Yeah,
They
then
won't
you can
allow
sit
them.
there and argue the dollar value.
Yeah, that's what,
This
no, that's what
it
I'm
becomes-
saying. That's what I'm saying. But when you said they didn't
It's not
earn
a
the
fair
release by putting
comparison.
it back in, it's like they didn't have a choice. They didn't have the luxury in a way of what Titanic has.
They did.
No. You can't let them. Be in
Titanic
theaters.
paid, so it's a market.
Theaters,
you pay for the
theater
amount.
exhibitors, and owner. They will not keep it in there, so you can't do it. They will not
They will.
allow
If it makes them money, no, they will. It's all a what do you call it? It's an auction. and you pay for the amount of time, the amount of studios you're gonna have, where your movie's gonna be. It's all an auction, and you paid the amount of times that your films are gonna be in there. So they can auction off a longer period of time.
Right. It's just not the system that like they don't do it
no,
anymore.
you're
Nobody
right. In
does it anymore. I'm just
society
saying,
today,
so
it's not
different.
the system, and so studios can say that.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate on that. Like I'm just.
But
like,
yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But they could extend the stay instead of doing a re-release, but they got the opportunity to do a re-release. So what did that matter?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they could. So it's for movies to get in theaters, it's all an auction.
Yeah.
You know, this is why Quentin Tarantino hated Star Wars, because they bought off so many theaters. He was mad he couldn't show his film.
Right.
You know, so it's.
I do want to say one thing about the Avatar thing though, and it being copy. There's a reason you can't really copyright ideas, because it has nothing to do, because there's a million people have the same idea for a movie, for a story.
They are laid out differently.
What you can copyright is the execution of that idea
Correct.
in a written form, writing a script, and be like, if you just tell somebody it's this, and they're like, oh, so it's like this movie, this movie, this movie, right? So like I wrote that a screenplay recently, and it had this basic concept, and when I would say it to some people, they'd be like, oh, like that movie. And I'd be like, that's annoying, because it's like, it's not, because it's got nothing to do with that. Tonally, execution, world-wise, character-wise, it's nothing to do with that. But it has a basic concept that I'm sure you'd be like, oh, well, I saw that. I'm like, well, then you can't ever make a new movie.
Yeah.
Because everything has been done to a degree. It's just how do you execute that idea?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what-
there's so many films that look at Batman.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different versions of Batman. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
just Joker getting ready to come out. So
I think the thing that you guys should actually be upset about is that the the eighth highest grossing film of all time is Furious 7. And
That makes me furious.
14.
1,000
no,
times.
that was
Yeah.
actually a good one.
And then the number
They're all
4
good.
None
Like,
of them are good.
I actually
and
like
then
all of
number
them.
You said
14.
none of them good.
They're fine
highest
movies.
grossing film is fucking Frozen, that garbage like diarrhea bucket. And then I saw that shit in theaters too. I'm gonna blow my fucking brains out. And I love Disney movies. I love Disney World.
Yeah, I don't know how that song
I
actually
really
caught
dislike
on.
that fucking movie. And
I-
then Fate of the Furious is number 17. I
That's
mean,
8.
this is insane that these garbage movies
These
are
are
like,
international though, right? Because those movies
This
have
is-
international appeal.
yeah, it's the
That
international
is the
total.
thing.
But
Like
this
Frozen's
is
international.
Endgame. This is
Fast
how
Food-
Endgame,
Yeah.
because Endgame is not number 1 in the United States.
Right.
That's actually Star Wars.
Right. So, well, if we care because we're American and so therefore we're self-involved
just
and only
look at
care about
domestic-
ourselves, just look at domestic number one. Like,
I
top
look
10.
at internet. Here's the hard thing. The thing for me is that
I'm actually
I watch
curious about
international films.
Yeah,
also.
domestic, it's number 2.
What is?
Endgame is number 2. Star
Okay,
Wars
that's
is number
pretty
1. Avatar is number 3.
Yeah.
Titanic is number 6.
Well,
That's going to change next year.
But if you
Avatar's
look,
going to be number
adjusted
one.
for inflation, it's like number 20 or something.
Gone with the Wind is number 1 adjusted for inflation. If we're going to do that for everything.
Adjusted for inflation, it's number 16. And Star Wars is number 2. The original.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, original Star Wars
Gone with the Wind
number
is
2.
number 1, right?
Sound of Music, E.T., Titanic is number 5, adjusted for inflation.
Really? Wow. Gone with the Wind is number 1, right?
Gone with the Wind is number 1.
By a lot.
Yeah,
It-
that's
well,
1939.
How much would it have been made?
It grossed, it says unadjusted gross $200 million
Yeah.
back in 1939, and adjusted gross $1.8 billion.
No, but Endgame has crossed $2 billion. So how's that?
Well, it says
Maybe
Endgame
that's an older
adjusted
article.
for inflation. I'm assuming that means that they try to everything is evened out.
Okay.
So if you had the same value, if like Gone with the Wind money was equal to
Today's
Endgame money, it would
Yeah.
only be $857 million when it grossed almost $3 billion. That's how much inflation has fucking increased over the last.
That's what we really should be
60
talking
years.
about.
That's what we should be
The
talking. This
funny
should
money.
be a political podcast. We're talking about our fucking
inflation,
economy.
yeah.
This bullshit ass inflation. You could
Yeah.
buy a car for $1
Dude,
back
I'm
in
gonna
the
start
day.
buying up my euro right now. All right.
All right, guys. Well,
There you go.
It's
So
all,
we're gonna
fun,
keep this
it's all
go-
numbers.
it's
It's
all
funny
numbers.
money.
I actually don't
It's
care
like, I
about
don't know.
numbers. I don't.
if you like the film,
I like the Cameron films more than I liked
Yeah.
Endgame, but I really liked
Me
Endgame a
also.
lot. I think they're all great movies.
They're all great.
So I think
It
at
is-
least the top 3 aren't shit movies.
It
That-
is a
that's fine.
record, though. I mean, it is
Yeah.
like a thing. It's
a
a thing.
game.
It could be this way
not a
for the
record,
next
it's a
20
game.
years. Endgame could be
gonna be a while,
The you know.
it's a game.
Maybe it's
Take a long
if the
time.
Avatar sequels come through and fucking bust through with a fist. Wouldn't that be crazy?
They
if the
might, but then
if the second one's incredible,
Endgame
then
one,
three,
people-
four,
number
five.
one, number two, number 3,
Yeah.
and they're all the top.
Because
box
if number
office.
2 is amazing, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be making so much fucking money.
But like Endgame, people are just gonna be like, well, what about inflation? It's worth more. And they're gonna say what we're saying now about
2 years later.
Yeah.
Wait till Phase 5 comes out with Marvel.
You guys aren't including the Trump dollar that came out, you know?
Yeah.
The Trump currency's coming.
Yeah, you're not even taking into account how much they had to pay for the acting talent that were in the movie. What are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
You're not counting the
Now you're
space
sounding like
the
us.
space tickets that Endgame
bro.
made
Exactly.
in the other universe in the Triverse thing.
So ridiculous. But yeah, I really have. I've more and more don't give a shit about box office these days. I used to record those numbers in my head and give a shit, and I don't give a fucking shit anymore.
It was a big deal. I think it was a big, way to know. There's not many films. I mean, films were all these films that we love that we grew up with. None of them are even on the. I mean, they're like way down at the bottom, and there's like a handful that are at the top.
That are horrible, but I love watching it. There are films, and I just enjoy watching.
Yeah.
So watch what you love and love what you watch. That's literally it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us here at Get to the Podcast. Get to the Podcast with the number 2. My name is Tiago D'Souza.
I'm Nick Gambino.
And I'm Neil Carson.
Snapping out. Snapping out.
Snap it.
Snap,
Snap, snap, snap. Snappity snap.
Snapping it out.
Just tap it in.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.